Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here. So I had to make a distinction with a client this week who was having some heart problem and was completely unaware of the potential harm or actually co-mingling factor that solar flares can have in overall health. And so when I described to him what happened to me about 3 weeks ago with the solar flares and the symptoms I had, he had the exact same symptom, except he went to the emergency room. He spent hours there, and they basically looked at him and they said, "It's your heart," and blah, 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 but they sent him home, right? In the end, they sent him home, they did nothing. He has an ongoing medical heart condition, so out of caution, he actually went, which I think is a good thing. And while I was talking to Georgie about this as well, he has a friend in Puerto Rico who also was in a hospital with a heart condition. They were going to put a stent. And he suspected it was around the same time that it was solar flare related. Sure enough, they went in with the camera and everything else to see. There was no blockage in his heart. There was no plaque. There was no, it was actually solar flare. And I want to remind you that the sensation sometimes with the solar flare is heart related, meaning for me, the way it manifests in me is, first of all, there is the panic or the sensation of a buzzing, like everything inside of me is shaking, like I've drank too much coffee, okay? I look like I'm steady, but everything inside of me is shaking. For some people, it's brain seizures. Again, the trembling of these, because again, the electrical charges that are going through you and through the entire magnetosphere of the planet are a different charge than what your body naturally has. And therefore, it's creating a disruption in your electrical grid. And because this friend of mine, client in Miami, has a heart murmur, for him, this is really critical. And so, because the problem he has is not vascular, but it's electrical. And again, going back to what Georgie told me, they did do the camera thing and the look at the stent. Nothing in there was a problem. They just pulled back out, closed him up, and they're like, you go home, you rest, take a couple of days off, and hope, and you will get back to functioning. The sensation for the heart for me is that I'm walking down the street or I'm doing whatever it is I'm doing, suddenly it feels like you know the sensation you get when you're on top of a roller coaster and then you drop, and the drop is so dramatic that you feel either you're gonna pee or you're gonna fall, you feel a sensation of falling. That's what happens. And when that happens, sometimes if I'm on the street, I have to hold on to something because I feel like I'm gonna collapse. So be aware of this, take care of yourself, drink plenty of water, and in a day where these sensations are strong and powerful, this is not a day for you to do strenuous physical exercise, or if you had scheduled a trainer, you were running, you were about to run or whatever, this is a day to cancel the plan. Because you don't want to exacerbate and create an actual crisis because your heart is being deregulated by this event. And then you go and couple that with a strenuous physical exercise that then can cause you actually to die. So that's the caution that I want to present to you today. And it's not just the solar flare, but it's also the Schumann resonance. Because when this electrical charge for the sun collapse with the magnetosphere, they increase the Schumann resonance, which is 8.93. Several years ago, when the last sun cycle pole reversal happened. One day, the Schumann resonance registered at 600 hertz, which is unheard of, okay? Because the Schumann resonance is like the pulse or the heartbeat of the earth. And the increase into the 20s or the 40s now is telling us that we have shifted from a steady 8.9 to 8.9 something, 97, 93, to a higher frequency, a higher heartbeat, and a different electrical pulse and vibration that is going to lead us into the new earth. And our bodies somehow have to figure out a way to acclimate itself to that increase. We have to find a way to belong into that environment. And the charges, it's a struggle. There are days where it's a struggle. I had a day this week as well, where for the morning, I remember my sister called me in the morning to ask me a question, and she was being very technical. I said, listen, I'm going to the waterfront. I'm not feeling well. I think it's solar flare related. Let me finish what I need to do, and then I'll call you back, because I'm not feeling like myself now. I'm feeling completely out of sort, which is what I ended up doing. Because I needed the time to relax and surrender and tell the sun, have a conversation with the sun and saying to the sun, I know what you're trying to do is for my benefit, but it's feeling very aggressive to me. I'm not going to resist you. Whatever it is that you need to do it in the best and the gentlest way possible. I yield. I yield to you. I'm not resisting you anymore. And typically within a few hours after you take that attitude of surrender, the symptom decrease. For me, it was less than an hour. I felt so much better. And what I did as well is that I grounded myself. I took off my shoes, my sneakers, and I sat on the park bench, I put it on the stone floor to allow the Shakti, the ground, the earth energy to rise in me, to allow me to ground whatever the electrical charge that's flying about, to allow it to ground into the earth. So in the event that you're having these kind of symptoms, taking off your shoes and putting your feet onto the ground, whether you're in an apartment or wherever, is going to go a long way to actually help you ground, to help you take the electrical charge that are flying about, and it's like a grounding rod that you have on top of a house. It will drop it into the earth, and it will discharge. Instead of you trying to absorb all of it, it will discharge it into the earth. And moreover, the earth, Shakti, will bring negative ion to help balance your frequency. Most of the Indian saints and ashrams that I've been in, when you see the teacher or the guru coming in, most of the time they're barefooted. They don't wear shoes because they need to ground to Shakti. They need to touch the ground. Whether it's male or female, I've seen both, no shoes. So I want to remind you of this, that when I was living back in the Caribbean, wearing no shoes was, in the house or wherever was actually very common. I don't know now if it's the same thing, but I remember growing up, I used to run to my neighbors next door or whatever, no shoes, just go out on the street and run as kids. But and I had this, even with rocks and everything else, I built up such a kind of a strong feet where that was not a problem. We used to play soccer with a ball, but with no sneakers, no shoes, and you wouldn't wear the shoes on different occasions. And so and that allowed us to really ground well. So I want to remind you of this, that a lot of time when the teachers are meditating, they're sitting on a rock, they're sitting on something that's actually helped them ground, and they put their feet into the earth, or they are in lotus or half lotus position, seated on the ground, as a way to help to not only bring the Shakti energy into them, because if the Shiva energy, the masculine energy, the prana is coming down, it needs to be balanced equally with Shakti to help lock Ida and Pingala, the two energies, into the body to balance all of your chakras and help elevate you into ascension. And unfortunately for us in modern culture, we're wearing sandals, shoes, flip-flop. We are disconnected to the earth for a very long time. And that can have consequences of us not grounding correctly. Even if it's for a few minutes, if you take off your shoes when you're in your apartment and you wear barefooted, that will help you ground correctly. Okay? Now, as far as the planetary energies are concerned, there are solar flares that are rotating about, and I don't want to talk too much about this today. I have a channel that I follow called The Suspicious Observer. On YouTube, you can subscribe to it, and he has literally every morning videos with graphic, he's scientific, he has, and it's not just about solar flares, it's about all things, magnetic pole reversal of the earth, but where the North Pole is. He did this whole thing this morning about the location of the North Pole, where it is and when it's going to happen. We're going to talk about that in a second. So I will put it in the description of the video as well, but if you're interested, you may want to check this guy out. I'm not telling you to subscribe or not subscribe. I found the information beneficial because he's knowledgeable, he is credible, and the information is extremely well presented. Okay? All right. So I want to talk to you today about the nature of reality. I spoke this morning a little bit about it in the council class, but I want to bring it up to some of you that were not in that class so that you can get an idea, a general idea of what, and it's based on paper, scientific paper that talks about the switch from the quantum field, where everything is in superposition to each other, and quantum entanglement. All particles are interrelated. There is no individual separation because everything is in a vast and immense field of interconnectedness, and everything in there is a potential for manifestation. To how does reality manifest? And in all of this, with the math and with all theories that were being presented, it was theorized that it is the observer. There was that famous double slit experiment in which a group of scientists were trying to observe how proton moved through a solid metal particle with one slit, rather two slits. And then there's a protective film, there's a sensitive photographic film behind it. So they were hoping that the proton, which they thought was a particle, would behave like a particle. And this is what they observed. And then somehow they went to lunch and they left the machine on. When they returned, they saw that the proton, which is a particle, was behaving like a wave. And they were confused. They repeated the experiment ad nauseam. They put camera behind the slit, they put camera on behind the screen. They did all kinds of different ways. They repeated ad nauseam. And what they discovered is that if you, the observer, expect to see a wave, the film will register a wave. If you expect to see a particle, you will see a particle. So the observer is creating the reality. I want you to keep it's a simple thing. You can Google this double slit experiment. I want you to keep this in mind, because what scientists taking to a bigger scale were saying that the quantum field somehow is manifesting as a physical universe by some observer, and it could be us, but what they are suspecting that the observer is black holes and the very edge of the entire universe. Because although the universe is expanding and growing, there is an edge to it. They think that there is a external watcher. In the Kabbalah, they call God one of the titles. There are many titles, and one of them is the silent, the unmoved mover. And my teacher, Dr. Stone, used to always invoke, every time she begins an invocation or prayer, the silent watchers of the cosmos. That there were this collective that watch, and by their observation and their expectation of seeing something, even though they are neutral, but they have an expectation, whatever that expectation is, the quantum field that exists in the universe, which is like an everything bagel, and has everything in it. It could be almost anything. Take a very specific shape where it becomes poppy seed, or it becomes, a different kind of bagel, depending on what the observer is expecting to witness. And I want you to understand this because, well, first of all, inside of every universe, even the one that's behind me in this graphic, that white spot in there, all of them have inside of them a black hole. Okay? And in that black hole may be the key to understand why our physical reality exists, and it's only around 14 or 15 billion years old. It's because these black holes are allowing an observer of some kind to influence the nature of the quantum field. And when that influences it, it begins to create very specific conditions. And I want you to understand this. I don't want to get too geeky with you, but I want you to understand this. They are discovering more and more with the new Webb telescope that just went out in space, I think last year or a year and a half ago. And they're discovering so much because the telescope is so detailed. It areas of space that we thought were blank is actually littered with galaxies. And what they are discovering is that a lot of these planets, stars, and galaxies are operating by different rules. They are even saying right now, that they're discovering that right now, antimatter, which is a primordial particle that existed in the first few seconds. There is matter and there's antimatter that exists in the first few seconds of our universe. They're figuring out there are planets out there, stars that are antimatter. So it means that there are certain sections of space within the universe itself where the laws of physics are operating differently, because an antimatter planet does not operate like ours. It's just the exact opposite, right? It looks like a star bubble, etc. It would operate with completely different rules. So I'm saying this because I want you to understand that maybe in that region of space, because no one can find antimatter anymore, it's such a rare a particle, maybe in the section of space that we thought was empty, an observer has, instead of wanting to see wave, wanted to see particle. Instead of wanting to see matter, wanted to see antimatter. And suddenly, this is what the quantum field created. Why am I going over this in such a detail? Because I want you to understand something. With all of the crazy stuff that are going on in the world, and all of the turbulence, and all of the chaos, and all of the, whether it is banking crisis, whether it is climate change events, whether it is mass shooting, or whatever it is that's making you feel unsafe, someone or a group of people want, as an observer, or creating this reality. But you, as an independent observer, can begin to peel off from that reality and create your own. You can claim your sovereignty, and you can begin to peel off completely and achieve independence from this. So you have to find a way to manifest this for you, and to create this, and find the strength, and not only the strength, but more importantly, the focus. And part of the reason why we are not capable of doing, sometimes things are happening in our lives, although chaos is being thrown at us in all different directions, and we're feeling besieged by, oh my God, turbulence, and I wonder X, Y, Z, this, that, or the other. The problem is that inside of us, there is a part that knows the truth. I was talking last week saying to you that the voice of God or of your heart is a whisper. It's a soft, yet at the same time, complete knowing of rightness. It's very soft, but it's also a complete knowing that this is the right path. Whereas when you're being agitated by the principalities and the archons or whatever it is that's trying to rile you up to take you into fear, it's extremely loud and strong. It's extremely loud, and you get so panicked and so agitated that you're ready to jump out of your skin. So when you feel the loud voice, you need to be discerning and realize, wait a minute, something is not right. Particularly when I feel solar flare events, because it hits me the same way. It's very strong, like I'm not myself, and I'm like, what's going on? And I'm trying to struggle to snap myself out of it. So be aware that the issue with us becoming a true observer, like whomever cosmic being, silent watchers may or may not exist in a black hole. The issue for us is that we intend and unintend 3 to 5 times per minute. That's the problem. We believe this is the right path, that whisper, and the next thing we know, what the church will call the devil, or the tempter, or the resistance, okay, the force that's designed to test us, begin to bombard us with the opposite. And then we shift awareness and we say, well, maybe this is right. And the next thing, oh, maybe this is not right. And if you do this 2 to 3 times per minute, you cannot have any effect. You cannot be effective in changing the quantum field or influencing the quantum field in any way. That's the spiritual practice. That's the thing that we have to do on a daily basis. That's the hours of, you repeating stuff over and over again to try to align ourselves to a repetitive behavior and mindset that will allow in the subconscious mind an awareness to seep in, so that we can begin to stand fast and not move from or stand in believing in the miraculous and the impossible. And let go of the illusion and the maya that's around us that might be clouding our mind and our consciousness with all kinds of agitation, distraction, and illusion. So it's an ongoing process of catching ourselves and realizing that the tests come in all different ways. They may appear as people, they may appear as events, they may appear as a threat, somebody yelling at you on the street, somebody, hurling a slur at you. It may appear as family member asking you certain kind of question, or somebody doubting your integrity. It may manifest in all kinds of ways, or somebody making an offer to you that's too good to be true. Okay? All kinds of things. It can manifest in all kinds of different ways. And it's for you to listen to that small whisper of a voice. And for me, it's not just a small whisper, but it feels like an all-knowing, like a wave, a wash, like something wave over me and passes through me. And the moment that happened, I know that's the right answer. And the other, the chaos, the fanatic, the kind of like agitated, trembling. I need to act quickly. I need to do this because I need to. That is, in all cases, untrue. It's an illusion. And it can cause us to behave in ways, because on the one hand, you're praying, you're asking God for certain things, God sends the answers to you, and you're doubting the answer. This is not the answer. And by the way, also, you need to understand something. And although I do things, I think that spiritual practice are important. Asking God for things, sometimes 9, 10 days, 21 days, maybe 30 days, 60 days, 90 days in a row is actually very helpful, particularly for the big thing, to kind of cement our certainty in what we're asking. But it is also important for us to understand that we are not, what's the word? You have to be very careful, because when God gives you the answer and tells you, I am gifting you this, or you have support, this is the path to go. If that answer comes today, and for the next 3 to 4 days, you go back to God and you ask the same question again, you did not trust nor believe in the answer. You're undoing what you did before. So there is a thin line that when you get the answer, you don't go back and continue the same prayer and the same request over and over again, because you're saying, I don't trust you. When the answer comes, you should be grateful and say you're in deep gratitude and proceed ahead. Move forward to make the change and initiate and walk on the path of what you know now to be your truth. But many of us are not doing this. We 2 hours later, a day later, we're back again asking for the same thing, when God already told you this is the way it's going to happen. So there comes a point, like I was doing a series of prayers, there was a point that I arrived at, and I want some doubtful part of me was saying, repeat the prayer again. It's a cycle of 9 days. Repeat it again. And I went so far as to get all the material ready to repeat it. And then in the morning I was going to do it. I heard so clearly that whisper saying, I've already answered your prayer. And I stopped right there. The prayer is already answered. You don't need to repeat nothing. You're wasting. Sometimes when I'm in neutral enough, let's say, for example, I did a healing for somebody, and I'm not sure the healing went through. okay? And I'm going back the next day, or then let's say I did the hearing 3 days in a row to make sure that everything is done. And on the 4th day, I'm going back again. And sometimes I can feel again that wave saying to me, it is already done. Stop. It's already done. At which point I stop immediately. Because I'm a Capricorn, I believe in walking every path and moving through everything and making sure all the details are done, all of the parts. If I say I'm going to do this, I need to do this, that kind of thing. But it's important for us to realize that a lot of time in this kind of like, particularly when we are fastidious about the details, we can end up being our own worst enemy. Because when spirit is giving you an answer, and clearly the answer is there, the answer has been given, and you know what the answer is, you don't need to go back and tell spirit to do the same thing again when the answer has already been given. What you're doing is that you're saying to spirit, to the quantum field that already is saying the precipitate of that blessing is coming your way. What you're saying to the universe is that undo it. I don't believe you. Undo it. So this idea of intending and unintending, because what we're saying is that the observer has intention. Even the most neutral witness, just by observation, can begin to influence an outcome. Any questions, any comments?
This is really fascinating, Pierre, particularly the black hole watchers, or whatever the effect is from a black hole. It certainly, am I correct, it is a star that went nova, a black hole?
Well, we scientists are not completely sure. Yes. They are saying it's just a center. There are so many of them in the universe. Even in the Milky Way galaxy, although there is one in the center of it, there are lots of other places where there are other black holes. And the black holes are a place where the gravity is so strong that nothing can escape, even light.
Right. The effect of this powerful force that is creating the quantum field that we're experiencing as reality then has me wonder, do we have much hope to change that with our own observations, creating our own reality, or is it does it have to be a group effort to make any real change?
It's both, Janice. We do have influence, and that's the whole point of me bringing this topic up. It's we do have the ability and the power to change and to become the observer, right? And this is the point of spiritual practice, is to give us enough inner strength, particularly in kind of like so that we can remain focused in intention for a steady period of time. And I'm going to bring several classes together, because we had done a class several weeks ago about the idea of going into the white space, how it feels to enter in deep meditation when we surrender and release everything. And all of a sudden, and the way it initially happens, I'm sorry to take this kind of roundabout way to answer your question, but the way it happens is that initially when you go into deep meditation like this, when you let go of all your attachment, your fear, for me internally lately, what was present in my core was I'm not safe. And if I can surrender all of this to the blessed feel and let it go, there comes a point where all of a sudden you have no thoughts. Everything is gone. You've emptied yourself out completely. So many of us have had the experience where all of a sudden we think we fell asleep during meditation. We blanked out. You did not blank out. You went into the quantum field. Because as an ego, the way we are as human beings, we are a singularity of consciousness, a unique expression of the divine. And when you go into the quantum field, you are a multiplicity. And it's a very different state of awareness, and it takes a while for acclimation, for you to acclimate to the environment. Okay?
That's interesting. So we exist in multiple realities, you're saying, so that the effect of us having a thought or an observation of something that could change our reality exists in many different realities. So the power of one thought is therefore multiplied?
Yes, and more to the point is that if you can step into that quantum field and you become blank where there was no thought, and for a minute there's no thought, but the monkey mind just stopped, everything stopped.
Right.
And the quality of it is that after a while of blanking out, of you think you're sleeping, there comes a point where you will realize, my God, I'm in this immense space.
Mm-hmm.
And that volume, that immense space, is characterized by stillness, rest, and silence. These three things are in there. Very potent, very powerful. Now, once you have passed that level, you have understood or felt those three things, as you continue to travel and journey into that environment, you will begin to realize at that moment that if you were at that moment, even after resting for a while in that environment, were to intend, for example, abundant living, the quantum field will obey you. Because now you're an observer.
From the perspective of the infinite, how will I say, blank arena, then that has more power.
Yes, when you're in the emptiness.
Yes, the emptiness. Thank you.
Yes. Because the emptiness is not a vacuum. It's actually filled with quantum particle.
Right.
It's the interconnectedness to everything. And when you're in that state where you're blank because you don't intend and unintend, the archons are not in your mind at that moment. Your intention is you're a blank slate. And if you intend in that moment, it manifests.
Well, thank you. That it got me a little worried that all these black holes were stronger than me, so I better.
No. And in fact, the black holes are not your enemy. That's the point. Years ago, I used to read a lot of comics and a lot of Marvel. I grew up on Marvel and DC comics. And I remember years ago, there was an episode in which this giant cosmic being called Galactus, who was a planet eater, came to Earth to devour the Earth. And the Earth heroes came to defend the Earth, but they were outmatched. This being was a galactic being. But there was a being called the Watcher, who had equal power to Galactus, who showed up to witness the event. And him, by his presence, he influenced the outcome. Although he claimed to be neutral, he's just there to observe. But he manipulated the event without, intentionally or unintentionally, he manipulated it. Because by his presence, because Galactus could read mind, could do all kinds of things, by his presence around the Earth heroes, Galactus was cut off from reading minds. Mm-hmm. Because his intention was to observe, and as he was observing, he basically cut him off.
And
neutralizing them. And the Earth heroes were able to figure out a way to disable this cosmic being. And I'll never forget that, because the horror viewers were having a conversation. One of them was very smart, kept saying, but by just your presence and what you can do, you've influenced this without, although you claim to be neutral.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of smiled and said, I'm leaving, my work is done, and he was gone. So a lot of time the observer, I don't think these black holes and these other, they're not trying to trap us. They are trying to create, if you think of it as a stage in which we can safely evolve and grow and become like them. And I'm trying to bring you to the secrets of us evolving now in a completely different way. Because if we can, many of you have gone into that white space we talked about, and this deep meditation. And again, the first few times, it's going to feel like you fell asleep. And you wake up like, what happened? Well, I think I passed out. You did not, again, you did not pass out. You just went into the quantum field. And because awareness is so different, your ego shut you down because you could not comprehend multiplicity, being everywhere all at once. Mm-hmm. There is an interesting movie that just won 3 Oscars called Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's very chaotic at the beginning because it's multiple parallel realities. It's an indie movie, and Michelle Yeoh just won, first Asian to ever won an Oscar for Best Actress. Anyway, she is brilliant in it, and all the actors there, the whole thing is brilliant. It's very confusing because she's shifting realities and moving into this universe and that universe and that kind of thing. But be prepared, because the end is so poignant that you're gonna cry. It's a beautiful movie. And they were talking about in this movie about the everything bagel, the idea that the field, and again, all of that is discussed in the movie, the multiple universes and what we're discussing right now. And so it's a question of, it's brilliant. It's really well done. For a small budget movie, they've done, the directors, the actors, everybody's doing an excellent job. That's why they won three, I think maybe 3 or 4 Oscars. I think it's 3 Oscars. So I want you to understand that every time you enter that blank space, you have an opportunity, if you sit in that space long enough, to become a true observer, a watcher. I remember in Marvel Comics lore, every time a watcher shows up, you know there was a cosmic event that was about to happen. Mm. And they had this very high collar, their head was completely bald, but oversized. There was a very specific way that they drew them. And every time you saw a watcher, you knew there's a gigantic cosmic event that's about to happen, because they don't just show up like this. They are an extremely, it wasn't just one, it's an extremely advanced race, cosmic race. So we have the capability of being a watcher. Again, who are we really? We are co-creators with God, co-creatrix with God. And we have the capability of creating and co-creating the kind of reality and world that we want. I have to tell you that the first few times I realized that this was a possibility, when you go into that blank state, a lot of time you bring idea in there that you think you can create, and the quantum field educates you to tell you no. I'm serious about this. You think that's the idea. This is what I need to create, and then the quantum field says to you, no, you're all over the place. make it smaller. The field is actually, it's the collective awareness of everything that's sentient that exists in the universe. It's highly, highly sophisticated and intelligent. And when you're bringing things in it that are too confusing, that have multiple prongs, that are too, again, simple, single sentence kind of thing. Let there be light. Or like Gandalf in the Bridge of Khazad-dûm, you shall not pass. Things that are simple. And it will help you funnel. Let's say you have an intention, you want to create a project and you don't know what the right intention is for it. It will help you. It's like a cone. Many ideas will show up and it will help you funnel it until it becomes one idea. It might be several meditation, maybe 2-3 days before you get it, but you're going to get it. And once you get it, you drop it into the field. And then you don't need to do anything else. Go about your life, and the opportunities and the circumstances in the entire world that exists around you will create attraction. Okay? And radiation, so that what you intended in the white space manifests for you. Because it's not just attraction. The attraction is things that come to you, but you also radiate something out. So it's both. Any questions or comments? Any other questions or comments? You can begin to take charge. And the reason I'm saying this is that there are, again, the world seems to be on the edge of a precipice. There are all kinds of things that are going around that are making us all feel on edge for one reason or another. Yet within us sits the incredible ability to connect to something that's so potent, where we can intend something else. We can create something else. We can influence something else. And once you begin to do this, it begins to shift in a way that manifests a different kind of reality for you. Or at least help you handle what's around you in a completely different way, where you're disconnected to the emotional charge that you were feeling about that or the other. And if you're not charged about it, it doesn't have control over you. You don't need to be panicked. You don't need to be afraid of it. You don't need to be concerned about whether you're doing it right or wrong. You just go about your life. And as you do this, it gives you greater strength. I personally think that the whole reason for the turbulence that we're living through is to allow us to become better watchers, better co-creative partner with God. This is like a major test to see if we can rise above it and not fall for the illusion and the Maya of the turbulence and the chaos. How many of you can realize, of us as healers, teachers, student on the spiritual path and adept, how many of us can begin to rise above it and realize that this is all an illusion and I can intend something else? And when I intend something else, I will attract it, I will radiate and attract it, and it will be manifest. It will come and be manifested in front of me. Any questions, any comments?
I have a question, Pierre.
Yes.
Have you noticed maybe as far as going into that space, quantum field, is it do you when you meditate, do you find yourself going there regardless, or does it help to specifically meditate with that intention? I guess what I'm saying, not every, I mean, I know we're supposed to do the morphogenic listening. So that's obviously a straightforward way to do this. But I was just wondering, like, when we do the other meditations, do we, for example, if we do the Antara Sutra, right?
Yes. Yes.
Or if we do the virtues or something similar, that also, I would imagine, takes us to that space.
Actually, the morphogenic listening will take me actually in coherence, meaning I can listen to the whispers coming from that world.
Right.
But for me to go into that space personally, it's much easier for me to do the morphogenic listening, the monadic merger or the Antara Sutra. Because by the end of the process, when I am done with the whole thing and I'm just observing energetically what's around me,
right,
all of a sudden I'm in that space.
Right. I noticed something like that when I'm done with the sutra.
Yeah.
It's a little different. It's a little different, as if I was trying to bring an idea, right? To manifest or something, but it's still the same place that we go to.
Yeah, for me, the morphogenic listening is the fundamental. I do it every day, and it's something I do. That's the basis of everything.
Right.
When I do either the monadic merger or the Antara Sutra, and I go around the entire mandala, and
right.
when I'm finished, I typically sit to observe the expansion.
Right.
And as I sit to observe the expansion, suddenly I'm in the white space.
Is it always a white space? Usually. The way sometimes I experience it as an awareness of a gigantic volume, and it begins this way. Okay. Right.
The vast and immense volume. And it begins this way. And all of a sudden, and again, I can sit in it for hours. And I'm going to move because I'm in such stillness. In other words, when you're in the blessed field and you're in that expansion, you're literally in the throne room of God. For you to quickly get out and go do something else makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
So when I'm in that space, particularly when I don't have something scheduled, I'm like, I'm going to sit here for a while because it's to my benefit.
Yeah.
And the more I sit, the more I learn, because I sat there and I was like, what am I feeling? I know I'm in a big volume, but what's the feeling? And it took me months to figure out, I am completely at rest. It took me months to figure out that was the feeling.
And I think also virtues give you similar feeling because they're so big and they expanded.
Yes.
They must belong to that. They kind of belong to that, more to that world, right?
Yeah, they do, because that world is the root of everything.
Yeah.
And so, and again, and the stillness and the silence. I knew the silence was there because when I'm in that space, when I'm becoming aware of all this giant volume, very hard to describe. Everything is still. Everything is still. I remember in the Kabbalah class that we're doing, Dreaming on the Kabbalistic Tree, we talked about the spinning top last week. That when you take a spinning top and you throw it, and as it spins very fast, the oddity is that as it rotates so quickly and so fast, the core in the very center of the spinning top look like it's completely still, like it's not moving.
Right.
And that's the paradox. Everything around him is spinning very, very fast. And in the core, it looks like it's the unmoved mover. And again, sometimes I go in that space, I have to tell you, I don't have an intention. I go in there because I'm doing my regular practice and I happen to be in there. And sometimes when I'm in that space, insight shows up for other people that are in my care.
Right.
Like all of a sudden, tell so-and-so, blah, 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 blah.
Because it's been on your mind and the answer show up.
It was so deep in the subconscious mind, I was not even aware it was there.
Right.
Or sometimes someone in my care is in crisis. The field is telling me, so-and-so is in crisis, call them and tell them X, Y, Z.
Right.
It happened to me so many times where I remember internationally I had to make a call, use WhatsApp and say, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. You need to do X, Y, Z. It's because I was in the field and that information just came. The field is super, we're talking about the throne room of God, super, super intelligent.
Well, my guess is, it's like developing another sense, right? Like we have 5 senses. It's like developing maybe a sixth sense, or with enough practice, you get to recognize it better.
Yes.
And
it's a great analogy, Ursula. It's a great analogy. That's exactly what it is. It's a terrific analogy.
And practice makes it better.
Yes. Yes. Because over time it will begin to, you will be able to hear more, see more, and perceive more. Sometimes it gives me a vision. Every once in a while but it's very fast. It's a flash. You blink, you miss it. It's very fast.
Right.
Or it's a wash or a wave of knowing, like something which is, I feel like they're echoes, and these echoes just hit me. Woof. It just hit me. And then all of a sudden there's a whole packet of information and knowing that I wash over my body all at once, like this.
Yeah, and then that can actually, come to think of it, once you make the connection, I think it stays with you. We just don't always realize it.
Absolutely.
Maybe if you're walking down the street and you're kind of more relaxed, something can show up, right? Solution or something the same way.
Yep.
It can show up later in the day or something on the next day.
Yes. All of the things you're saying there are true. Because what happens is that once you've done it once, the afterglow remains for hours.
Yeah, especially if you don't go into some sort of fear or something.
Yes. The afterglow remains for hours. You become neutral, you become aligned, and people around you can actually, for miles around you, can see the alignment. That something about you is different.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, thank you. We just need to practice.
Yes. Again, for me, the morphogenic listening is a daily thing that I do for 10 minutes. But if I want to go into that space, I usually do either the Anahata Sutra or the monadic merger. And when I'm done, I just simply observe. Because when you're doing that, the monadic merger or the Anahata Sutra, you're inside the mantra and the mantra is expanding you. And it's a very natural evolution to go into the white space. because you're now much bigger than you were before. And your identity as a singularity has now changed because you're now merged with the 144 pieces of yourself.
Yeah.
Suddenly, I'm in the white space.
And also, like, I think doing the virtues is also another way to go there.
Yes.
Because the virtues are a part of that. It's like so I'm hoping those are the three ways to connect to it.
Yes.
Because I switched to the virtues because I was doing the sutra and I felt connected.
Yeah.
I really felt I was doing by myself, no recording, and I really felt connected. But then this big emotion started showing up and I couldn't tell what it was. So, but I imagine all three ways is that do the same thing.
Yes, for me, because I'm an architect and I'm very visual and spatial, doing the monadic merger is a quick way for me to get there.
Right.
So if you're more of a clairsentient, the feelings and the emotion will be an easier way for you to get there, which it doesn't matter.
Yeah, as long as our bridges need.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Right.
I'm very spatial, very visual, and again, as I said, I'm an architect, so exploring space is one of the things that's my gift. So when I'm connected with all the various fragments of myself, by the time I'm done with the mandala, all of a sudden, it can easily translate for me into going into that volume.
Right. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? So I wanted to, of course, invite you to double your practice. WESAC again will be on May 7th. The final preparation will be made for that. Hopefully at the end of this week, all the information will be on the website for you to sign up. I wanted to also, and remember, it's May 7th from 9:30 to 6 p.m. With an hour break in between. We're going to have music, we're going to have live music, we're going to have incredible speakers and channelers. We're going to have messages from the spiritual hierarchy to help us understand how to align ourselves to greater spiritual work for the next year. Remember that WESAC is the highest spiritual festival of the year. So I look forward to be sharing more details about that with you shortly. Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right, let's take a 5-minute break. Go get some water and stretch your legs slightly for 5 minutes, because when we are done, we're going to go into a long meditation. I'm going to try to guide you into that space. All right, 5 minutes. Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Let your mind and your heart sync with each other. And let your entire awareness emanate from your upper chest. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And notice what you noticed. Become aware of any expansion sensations and knowings. That may want to show up for you. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And from the core of the earth, and into the bottom of your feet, observe the rise of the Shakti energy. Notice what you noticed. Become aware of any information that this may want to share with you. Allow this energy to continue to rise upward through the bottom of your feet, passing through you, moving upwards through your body, and dislodging any fears, any resistance, any misqualified and unbalanced energies. Let them all continue to elevate higher and higher. Go outside of your head. And be released completely into the very heart of God and infinity times infinity. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I let go. It is not my responsibility to fix, repair, change, or control anything. I release all my burdens into infinity times infinity. Let all internal resistance and fears about my safety and survival be released and surrendered into this blessed field. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let infinity times infinity, the vast continents of endlessness, envelop you. And from the roots of Amen and into the throne room of God, listen. Listen as if the more than 50 trillion cells in your body had ears. Listen with your entire consciousness. And become aware of the vastness the expansions and the immensity that surrounds you. I am at rest. In the Holy of Holies. In infinity times infinity. I am surrounded by an infinite number of solutions set, repairs, and healing and possibilities. I am not alone. For you are with me. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let infinity times infinity expand your awareness into a kaleidoscope of knowing loving. And healing. Hosanna into the highest. Hosanna into the highest. Hosanna into the highest. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you, Pierre. It was a beautiful place. It's not only the vastness, the quantum field, but I felt the vastness of, I guess, of me, although not really present as an individual.
Beautiful, Janice. Beautiful.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comments? I want to thank you all for listening to me tonight. Thank you for allowing me to share this insight with you. It is my hope that it will be useful for us to find safe passage through the new earth. And I will talk to you next week. If you're listening to us on Patreon, thank you for your support. In YouTube, like this video, share the channel, and join us, increase the algorithm. I love you so deeply, and I'll talk to you very soon. Be blessed, everyone. Talk to you next week.
Good night. Good night, everyone.